Hello, guys. Um, I'm sorry. I just now noticed that when my stream begins, I try to begin with a certain facial feature, and I just noticed that it started while I was getting set up. So it's but whatever. Today we're gonna talk about a movie I saw in theaters while we went to the drive-in. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So let's talk a little bit about this. It was released this year, 2019. It's rated PG-13. Actually, going in, I was like, okay, is this 13 or R? Because my guess was 13, but it felt R in some places. The movie's hour 48 minutes long. It's not super long, and yeah. Ooh, sorry. And on IMDb, it has 6.5 out of 10 with about around 11,000 ish user votes and 61% on Metacritic with about 31 critics. Um, it stars Zoe Margaret Colletti. I hope that's how you pronounce her last name. It's like Colletti. She was actually played Tessie and Annie, and then the movie also stars Michael Garza, who was in The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part One. Poor guy. This is a better movie. And the movie is directed by Andre Overdahl, who directed Troll Hunters, but he's also a huge collaborator with Guillermo del Toro, and Guillermo del Toro produced and helped write the screenplay to this movie, so it could be considered a del Toro movie, even though he didn't direct it. On Rotten Tomatoes, the movie has, as its moment, 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, but with about 179 critics and 72% by audiences, with about 8,000-ish audience people. And the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is that, like the best-selling series of books that inspired it, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark opens a creepy gateway into horror for younger genre enthusiasts. I agree. I will say this is probably one of the best PG-13 horror movies I've ever seen. There's not that many good PG-13 horror movies. It's so hard to get right. I think the best one I've seen, best horror movie I've seen, is The Sixth Sense. I don't know if this movie's better than The Sixth Sense, but my initial thoughts. It's pretty flawless movie, but is it perfect? I don't know if I'll go that far. It's certainly scary. It has a lot of intense moments, which I liked. It didn't rely on too many jump scares. There was some, but they were, I think, pretty well done for a horror movie. But yeah, they had me on the edge of my seat a few times. I think I got into it. Acting is excellent. The characters are great too, and I like that they set the film. It's not really a spoiler that they set it in the '60s. They do. Um, I like that. I like that they set it back then because I feel like because it kind of gives it a old school vibe to it, which I think fits the stories. I will say this. I This movie gets away with it, but this is kind of a general warning. A lot of movies, ever since they did Stranger Things, I'm starting to notice a lot more movies doing the thing where they set things in a retro time period with a young coming of age group of kids, and they gotta start being a little careful with that because that's been a thing for quite a while. Like I want to say almost 10 years they've been doing that. And while it's not necessarily something that will die down or needs to die down, I'm starting to notice a pattern that they probably should start to slow it down because it's going to get to a point where it's going to become cliche driven. It's going to get ruined, and I don't want that. So I'm just saying that in general. On the movie specifically, acting's excellent. The kid actors are awesome. Um, let's see. Let's start with great horror movie ingredients. Atmosphere. The atmosphere is excellent. The books themselves, I did read them a little bit. But to me, what captured the stories isn't the books, isn't the stories were decent, but it was the illustrations that were fucking terrifying. Those illustrations are some of the scariest illustrations I've ever seen, and they're iconic. And the movie does capture them, thankfully, with the help of Guillermo del Toro. They capture them, and they do adapt some of the stories from them, and some of the stories I am familiar with. Not all of them, of course, because I can't remember the last time I looked at one of those books, but it's been a long time. But I still remember them, though. That's how good they are, especially the illustrations. And and yeah, this movie does a great job. The only thing, the direction is great. The direction's actually excellent. There's nothing. The direction's great. And yeah, this movie doesn't feel like a PG-13 movie to me. That's a great job. If a PG-13 horror movie makes you forget it's PG-13, that's great. A movie is always great when it makes you forget what rating it is. That's especially for horror movies, because it's important for horror movies because in order to feel genuinely terrified, you have to feel like there's, I don't know, that there's not going to be a real big safety net per se. This movie, characters you like, uh, they may not get the conclusion you hope for. But here's the thing. Here's when the movie starts to minor issue, and I can't really say it without getting into spoilers. It's towards the climax. It's not awful, but it dances on the line a little bit, but it works. But it's like you were close for a second, and there was one part of that climax towards like the last few minutes where it got a little obnoxious for my taste. Like I'm just gonna say this it's not really. I don't know if I should say it. Usually movies that are successful get nowadays sequels. Um, I don't know if this movie has been greenlit for a sequel or not, but let's just say that we better hope it does. um, that's all I'm going to say there. Other than that, and some real minor issues. Special effects are fantastic. A little bit of CG, but in all honesty, the areas where they do use the CG, they needed to. They really did, and they did it well. They really did, and the way they did it, I think, was clever and good enough to give it a go. And yeah, everything's pretty well executed. The atmosphere, the lighting, the intensity, the characters are likable. Um, the and the thing is that when I think about it, it's not gory, and that's a great job because the movie felt gory and terrifying, but it didn't feel gory. And God, this movie's just so well done and executed with that. It's a very great PG-13 horror movie. There's not a lot of them, but because it's so hard to get horror in that right medium where it's manipulative, because if you do PG horror or beyond, you're pretty much aiming for little kids, and horror that works for little kids is different than horror that works for adults. So you have rules and you have structures that you could follow to execute horror for that specific audience. But when you do PG-13, the rules blur. So there's no one has. It's hard to find a right way of doing it without becoming full on hard R or becoming too light. And it's not medium. In the medium, it can be achieved depending on really everything, like the story, the acting, and the atmosphere, and all that. And that's why movies like the freaking Bye Bye Man and the first Ouija movie blow, because they don't do anything at all. I mean, for general reasons, but I mean, I've seen Ouija. I haven't seen Bye Bye Man, but I don't need to. I think everyone's words go without saying. But yeah, overall the movie is well done. Now the writing's very solid. The story itself, in all honesty, it technically the story kind of has been done before to a degree. some ingredients of it have been done before, but they didn't rely on those ingredients to a point where it felt cliched. So it works. There's no issue there. I will say though, some of the criticisms I have heard is that the film isn't scary. I call bullshit. The movie isn't necessarily like I don't know what people would define as scary because everyone has their own definition of what terrifies them. I think for me personally, what makes a great horror movie is really what makes any movie great is just executing all the ingredients in a movie, and just you know just and just execution is more than anything. I mean, for personally, there's not really any movies that genuinely scare me. Like I loathe watching them or anything. I genuinely love watching them. The only movie that really gets under my skin really is Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead movie. That's the one movie that still is like, ugh. This movie had some of those moments, and some horror movies do there and there, but this movie had quite a few that I loved, and a lot of it is that they just captured the imagery of those stories to perfection, and they did a great job of that. Now, if they do have a sequel, the one thing I want to see is more of that imagery in that world, in their world, is more of that imagery. If they do that, I think it'll be truly terrifying. That's the thing if they do a sequel, because it's successful and there's no reason for it not to have a sequel. Let's just say that. I'm not going to say any more. But yeah, and I do think if I do, yeah, that everything's well executed. There's not any flaws. Is the ending overall the flaws? The ending, it's solid. You know, in all honesty, once again, I may have to rewatch this to get a further solid. Let it sit in a bit because I will say, um, the ending gets a little bit. I can't. No, it's not awful. It's not terrible. And on one hand, I kind of like what they're doing, but on the other hand, because I do like the characters in it, but on the other hand, it's like part of me was like, could you have maybe angled it a tad differently in certain ways? But besides that, it's okay. I wouldn't say it's a nitpick, but it's between a nitpick and a genuine flaw. I will say that. But yeah, there's not really anything really any I think that's it. I mean, yeah, acting, writing, direction, atmosphere, cinematography is great. It has excellent cinematography. The special effects are fantastic. Um, the minor flaws, the story itself, some people may think it's a bit cliched at this point, but to me it isn't. I think it gets a pass for me. They use some minor stuff, but I think they do give it enough of its own unique energy that it's nothing more than simple structural elements that, I mean, what story doesn't use kind of thing. And I'm curious on your guys' thoughts too on it when you guys get the chance to see it. It is still in theaters, and I will say this: I apologize because I saw this movie definitely over a week ago, and I was going to stream this soon after my previous stream, but just shit happening, and so it delayed a bit. But yeah, I don't know how many more I'll do of these this year because really the winter is not looking. There's not a lot of stuff that is grabbing me that's going to be coming out. So I don't know how many more I'll be doing these for the rest of the year, but there may be a few more. I imagine one of them would probably be, I want to see It too, but I haven't seen the first It, so I'm going to have to watch that. I do want to see the Joker movie coming out. I definitely do. So expect that. And yeah, I'm gonna just somewhat say it's a great movie. I recommend it. Check it out. It's PG-13 horror. It's probably one of the best PG-13 horror movies I've ever seen. A few minor flaws, but in all honesty, overall it's a great horror movie, and that says something because they don't make great horror movies like they used to. But between this and the new It movie and all that, I hope they're trying to find a way to make horror solid and bring it back to more of its glory days, because I really miss great horror movies. I really do. And um yeah, that's all I have to say. It's great. Check it out in theaters. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have a good day.